What's happening? This is Frank Vollmann from Frank the Baptist, and you're listening to The Dan Chan Show.
So I'm sat here in a very cool Berlin bar with Frank Vollmann from Frank the Baptist. How you doing, Frank?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
We met for the first time a few weeks ago in Tallinn. This is only the second time we've met up. When I saw you with me and that man in Tallinn for the first time, how was the tour with him? How did it go?
Well, it was great, actually. It was a blast. We knew it was going to be fun because I'd been hanging out with Nergal for a few years. And we had planned on doing a tour before this, and then COVID hit, and it got canceled. But he's a riot. He's a really fun guy. And what had happened was originally he was getting a tattoo done here by a guy that goes by the name of Neon Judas, and a really amazing tattoo artist here in Berlin. And the tattoo artist was playing Frank the Baptist. Nergal heard it in the background, asked who it was, and then went up posting about it on Instagram. And a friend of mine said, "Frank, you got to check this out." And so I did, and I was surprised. I contacted Nergal, and we've kept in contact since then. I wound up recording a song with them called "Losing My Blues." He sent me a basic outline, and I wound up rewriting a bunch of the lyrics and the vocal melodies to it all. And we did that with a bot from Immortal, and Chris Holmes from what are they called? Wasp, yeah, holy shit, I'm fried. Anyway, so he did the solo, and it was a blast. I mean, the guys from Me and That Man all, put it all together, and it was fucking fantastic. So anyway, so I knew, because every time Nergal would come to Berlin, we would hang out and stuff like that. Actually, in this area as well. And like I said, really fun guy. He's well-read, and he's just a laugh riot. So we would, anyway, the tour was great. And actually, they were really cool. The whole band is a really great bunch of guys. So they were fun on and off the stage. My guys actually pulled it all together and were a lot of fun to tour with, too. The whole thing was really positive. We wanted to play for different audiences than we were used to playing, and this afforded us that opportunity. The crowds, more than expected, the crowds really embraced it, and they were pleasantly surprised. They didn't expect it. We got a really good response. We met a lot of super cool people. And I got to jump on stage and play a few tunes with Me and That Man. And, each night I played either Losing My Blues or Losing My Blues and one of their other songs. And remind me, there was a funny episode of something that happened on stage, too. That was pretty fucking funny.
Let's have it now.
All right. So Nergal was goofing around a lot. He was calling me, when he would introduce me on stage, he's like, "Here you go, here's Frank the Rapist." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks, asshole." I was like, "Oh, great, I hope that one sticks." Anyway, so, he kept doing that. And I'd joke around and I'd say something stupid like, you could have normal sexual tendencies your entire life, and you rape one jack-o'-lantern, and all of a sudden, Narco or Urkel or whatever his fucking name is, make fun of you the rest of your life. And then, so we're joking around, and then one night, they're singing, "We've Got to Get Out of Here," or something like that. And, that's a song. He just popped it up on me. Before the tour, he said, "Hey, learn these 3 songs, and so you can play them with us." I learned the 3 songs. We get on tour with them, and Nergal's like, "I don't forget those. Learn this one." So I'm like, oh, okay, great. He's like, we're going to have a teleprompter on stage. It's okay. So I get on there, and the teleprompter's jumping and stuff, and you can't, it's fucking me all up and everything. And it's still fun. It's a lot of fun. It was a blast to be on stage with them. But at one point, in one of the audiences, he asked the audience, "What does it mean? What is this about? Got to get out of here." And I said, "It's probably about you needing to come out of the closet." Koopman, the drummer's laughing his ass off. And Nergal doesn't give a fuck. He's like, yeah, probably, or something like that. The next night, we're back in Poland, and so they've got John Porter on stage, and John Porter is 60s, 70s, or something like that. Also a great guy. So I get on to do Losing My Blues, standing between John Porter and Nergal, and we go into the song, and I notice something down on the teleprompter, and it's a full-on close-up of this gay gangbang scene. And I'm laughing so hard, I almost can't finish the song. I'm just pissing myself laughing. And I've got one hand on Nergal's shoulder, singing with him, but laughing my ass off. And then throughout the song, it was almost like I couldn't stop looking down. I was, is that real? I couldn't believe it. I was like, so I was laughing the entire song. It was fucking funny, and it was a great gag. It was really funny.
How many shows are you doing altogether?
With those guys, we just did 9. We would have done 10, but they were already booked up at the that Norwegian Oslo Metal Fest. I forget what it was called.
Inferno, yeah.
Inferno, yeah, exactly. So they were already all completely booked up, so we didn't do that. We actually hid out in Sweden for a few days until we got back on the road with them.
I was due to see you in London on the London Jazz Cafe on the tour that was cancelled for COVID. Remember that one? Remember that? It was Jazz Cafe, wasn't it, in London? The tour that was cancelled when you were due to play with them. That was.
Yeah.
Remember that? That was that. And obviously, I was going to talk about Losing My Blues. How did that come up? Was that were you just asked to do it? Was it a surprise when he asked you, or how did that happen?
Well, we were talking about stuff like that, and he usually gets musicians from different bands to record with him. And he said, all right, yeah, okay, why don't you try with this? And I didn't find out until afterwards. We were just down the street eating at 1990s down the street here. And he told me, he's like, Frank, I'll be honest with you. He's like, that song was probably maybe, one of my least favorites that we came up with. So when I was like, oh, thanks, so he's like, I wasn't sure we were going to do anything with it. He's like, but now it's one of my top 3 favorites on there. And I which was a big compliment for me.
It's great live as well.
Thank you. Well, thank them, actually.
Whichever way.
Yeah. Well, the fact is that he had some ideas of he came up with the name of the song, and he had a couple of ideas of how it would go. And it was very different. The way it's, hey, I'm losing my blues, that sort of thing. And it would have been a little bit more bluesy, but if you listen to any of the Frank the Baptist stuff that I do, you'll notice there's like a rolling wave of things. I love to climb in and out of certain melodies and harmonies and stuff like that. I love to croon. So what I did was I gave him a couple of different, I worked through it. I gave him a couple of different ideas on where we could go with the vocal melodies to see which he liked best. And he immediately fell in love with the way it is now. I actually still have a version of how it would be if my vocals were a little bit higher and you could hear how the vocal melodies go a little bit better. But he loved it. And it was a bizarre dichotomy of what he intended of a bluesy song and my actual vocal style. So it really worked out well. It was a shitload of fun to play live. And everybody maybe it's lip service, but everybody I know loves the album, loves that song as well.
And Abbott was channeling his inner Lemmy as well.
Yeah, Abbott has this band called the Bombers. And,
right,
and they're fucking amazing as a Motorhead cover band. It sounds just like it. And that's originally what Nergal wanted. He wanted that to be a little more of a Lemmy type thing. Yeah. And so that's how it came on. So he's basically singing the lyrics that I came up with in between, and we're trading off. So on stage, it's a lot of fun because Matteo, the bass player, who's an amazing vocalist, I love his vocals. he and I trade off when we're on stage singing it. Yeah.
He's a great vocalist. Now, this isn't turning into the Nergal show, and we're going to get him to Frank the Baptist very shortly, but were you aware of Nergal and Behemoth before you met him?
I was aware, but not that much, because the death metal scene wasn't as big. I had some favorites here and there, but as far as the whole scene is concerned, it wasn't really my thing per se. So I was aware of him, but not until we started communicating, and then I thought, fuck, I wish I had met this guy earlier. He's cool. Yeah.
For sure. Now, let's get into the nuts and bolts about you and your band. First off, why is a guy from sunny Southern California doing in Berlin? How long have you been here for?
Well, actually, I grew up in New Jersey.
Right.
And started the band in San Diego, California. And the fact is that things were going okay for us in San Diego. I started the band because that sort of thing wasn't being heard in San Diego. You used to have your guys with their gas station shirts on, plug their Les Paul into their Marshall stack, and then that's it. And when they got off stage, you couldn't tell who was in the band and who was in the audience. I wanted to put on a little bit of a show, have some effects, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we had actually started in the indie scene, and it wasn't until we started playing for some of the darker crowds up in Los Angeles and Long Beach that we started getting attention. From there, we started getting a lot more attention, and including from DJs over here in Europe. And at some point, I was in San Diego. I split up with my girlfriend. The house that I was renting, where all the bands used to rehearse, we lost that to the owner's son. I worked for the television and record industry. I was in between jobs, and it seemed like doors were closing there. And I'd always wanted to live overseas, anywhere else, just to kind of gain a different perspective as to how people lived. Get off a heart attack time a little bit, and just see how people just lived life rather than just be on the American time. And I got I'd gotten an email from a guy named Mick, who has a band called Pink Turns Blue, and they're big in the 80s, and they're actually had quite a resurgence over the last few years here as well. And he asked me if I would come over to sing a few songs with his band as a backup band at a festival at WGT in a party. He'd pay for my flight. Would I do it? And I thought, the gods have spoken. It's finally time. I'm just going to take the flight and just not use the return trip. And I had people who didn't even know each other in Berlin saying, Frank, you got to move here. This is your place. We'll help you out once you get here. So that's what I did. I stayed here, and I didn't go back, and I wound up getting my visa. That's another long story. But what 2006.
2006?
Yeah.
So the other thing I thought, that the name Frank Vollmann, it could have had a German connection. Was there no German connection to Vollmann?
Well, there's definitely a connection as far as the name is concerned. I just don't know. I don't know any of my ancestors here, because my family had been in the U.S. for quite a long period of time. I mean, I've got German ancestors, I've got Irish ancestors, French, Slovak, typical American mutt, So I don't really know. It's probably more Southern German or Austrian, the name, but who knows? I don't know. I don't have any real connection. I kind of wish I had. It would have made things easier visa-wise. But I don't know.
So was it easy to get the visa and the paperwork? Was that easy to do?
If I hadn't had help, probably not. There are a couple of ways you can do it. You can do it as an artist, and if you bring in a bunch of, if you bring in a bunch of invoices from shows and enough magazine clippings and stuff, which I could have, we've got plenty of those. They would accept it, but I had already had it going through a process. A friend of mine had tried to help me do it through teaching English part-time, And it would have been easy, except for some fuckery on the part of management of this company that I was trying to work for. And then the Ausländer Behörde lost paperwork and shit. So then all the money that I had saved and came over with, I spent it, partying. Right. So I was pretty much, living a Berlin lifestyle, very little money for a while, afterwards.
For sure. So, obviously, US band moving to the main guy moving to Europe. How many members are still in the band that are from the States, or is it a mix now? What is that?
Well, it's a mix. We've had people from just about everywhere in the world play in the band. From South America to someone from Spain. We've had all kinds of people, from England as well. One of the guys from the original lineup flew out to play the tour with us, Scott.
Who was that? Was that a guitarist?
Yeah, he was a guitarist. I named Scott the Hoople. He had actually nicknamed the band Frank the Baptist. It wasn't me who named it.
We'll get into that. I want to ask that question. Yeah.
For sure. He came out to play it. The other guitarist that was on tour with us, Fez Recker, I knew him in San Diego, but he didn't play in the band. Right. He was one of the people that came out before me, telling me, you're going to love this town. It's got your name written all over it. So, other than that, the bass player's from Italy, and the drummer's from another part of Italy.
Right. So they're not local here, then?
No. Yeah. We do have our other guitarist who couldn't make it on tour, hence the original guy coming out. He's originally from Berlin.
Right.
Yeah. His name is Ralph.
So let's go back to it. When did you start Frank the Baptist? What are your influences? They're very mixed. You're very genre fluid, shall we say? Tell me about the history of the band and especially the name.
All right. Well, for starters, I grew up in New Jersey in the punk and hardcore scene. When I was in like 13 or 14, I was going off to see all ages shows. It was the women I was crushing on who got me into the whole new wave and goth stuff and that sort of it. Friends got me into the horror punk scene and the horror punk and the death rock and stuff like that. And, as we know, the Misfits, Sam Hain is originally from New Jersey and stuff like that. The Undead, all that stuff. So I really fell headlong into that. But, I was always into music, if we want to talk about influences. My father was a greaser back in the 50s who used to harmonize with the guys over, in these gutted-out cars for the reverb and stuff like that. And so he would sing around the house. My mom would sing along to the radio. It was just in my atmosphere all around. It was in my sphere of, So, I was always singing, and try to emulate my father and all that stuff. And I'm just a sucker for a melody. I loved, as much as I loved art and artistic endeavors musically, in the end, I like a song, So later on down the line, after jumping in to sing background vocals in friends' hardcore bands and stuff, I just decided I liked writing songs. And so friends who were in these hardcore and punk bands taught me how to make bar chords and power chords on a guitar so I could play my favorite Misfits and Ramones tunes. And I just decided, being a lazy son of a bitch, I just decided it was much easier to write my own songs than to play anybody else's. So I started writing songs. And when I got to San Diego, eventually, after going to art school in Florida, I made it to San Diego, I just somehow, things just fell into place. I don't know how or why, but I went around more musicians. There was more fuel and just an opening of creativity that allowed me to start doing this stuff, putting it together and doing it live. That's how the band started. Jump a few years later, and in '97, Frank the Baptist was happening. I had a project I was trying to get off the ground called Genevieve, And there were a few tunes that I was doing, and it was just me on guitar and vocals, and a drummer. We needed a bass player. We were having a hard time with finding one. It eventually fizzled out. I wound up getting a good crew of guys together. We started it with a few of those songs that I had already written, and our first show was in '97. Now, the name, I was trying to be democratic, and I had about 3 or 4 pages of lists of names that we could use back and front. And as we know, democracy isn't always the most efficient way to run a band. So, because we couldn't all decide on one, we never came up with one. And Scott, the Hoople, said, how about Frank the Baptist? And because it gave me the creeps. And because it did, I figured it must be good. Because all the things that gave me the creeps in the past that I'd wish I'd done and didn't, I figured this time I'm going to roll with it. And the fact,
does anyone give you the wrong connotations from it? You know, the whole like Baptist thing. Everyone have you ever been misjudged?
Yeah, most people who grow up in a society that know who John the Baptist is know it's a goof. But there have been some people along the way asking if we're a Christian rock and stuff. And I tell them no. We would get together twice a week in my garage, drink our faces off, stagger over to our bicycles, and go off to swerve on over to the beach, which was only a couple blocks away, for a sunset swim. And because I was writing the songs and coming up with all the artwork, the name just made sense. And so I tell them, and they're a little bummed at that point. It's usually only people who are born again Christian types who think that there might be a link. I get it. And most everybody else knows it's not.
I get it. Now, one thing I wanted to ask was about the European American thing, just harping back to that, it's obviously, we know the glaringly obvious differences between the two continents, but what are the day-to-day things you notice more about Europe compared to, say, the States?
It's been so long, I almost forget.
Really? You go back often?
I go back a couple times a year to visit my family, my parents.
Is that New Jersey?
Well, they had actually moved down to the west coast of Florida. Right. And, luckily I've met some cool people down there in the tattoo and music scene as well. But I would say, people aren't quite as friendly in a customer service sort of way. They're not quite as friendly. Berlin is kind of, I guess, as much German as New York is American. New York City, it's very different here.
Well, what about the scene, though? The scene must be a lot more, I don't know, should we say, respected here, or do you think, or as in, like, closeness?
I would say, I would say musicians and artists, they are revered a little bit more here. They're looked at a little bit better, and as much as that's who you are, kind of like how mariachis are down in Mexico and South America. It's like, that's like a family trait. That's like who you are, as It's not like grow up and get a job. Sure. So they, more people are accepting of that, and there's absolutely, like, if you go out to a bar and you speak to someone, they're not, the first thing out of their mouth isn't, what do you do for a living? Like, that's not what a woman's going to ask you. No. That doesn't make up, that's not how you're defined. So I would say that an artist or a musician is, it's looked at more of, with a bit more respect, I would say.
So, Frank the Baptist, 5 albums, right? 6 albums. I'll get confused. Because you've just re-released your first album, my favourite album, Different Degrees of Empty. That's like a 20th anniversary. Was it last May, that came out?
Yeah, it was definitely, we re-released it as vinyl, the 20th anniversary. That was the first one. So that came out in 2003, so it was Different Degrees of Empty. Then the following album was Beggars Would Ride. Yeah, I've got it written down. Good, because I almost forgot. Don't ask me what songs are on those. Then the New Colossus is the third.
You're right, yeah.
Then thank you. Then we have As the Camp Burns, and then we have Road Omen.
And obviously, Road Omen had a pretty cool cover of Die Die a Darling on, which is a massive Misfits track. Misfits fan myself, massive Danzig fan myself. Why that track?
Well, if you recall how the song is played, it's very different than the original, and it's basically I used to walk around the house or my flat singing it that way, slowed down, jazzy, bluesy kind of. And eventually I was like, shit, we've got to record it like that, because it's just, to me, I'm wandering around the house singing it like that, on the regular. I was like, I think it deserves a recording. And so we did. We recorded it that way. And luckily we haven't gotten any shit for it yet or any lawsuits. So
I don't think Metallica did either.
Yeah, well, it actually helped her, Metallica putting it out, it actually helped her situation a lot better. But with us, we recorded it, and I actually still wouldn't mind, even though we're getting ready to do a sixth album. I still think it would be fun to do a video for it.
Yeah.
It's just because Misfits, and I've heard people back in the States say that doing a Misfits cover, it's kind of low hanging fruit. It's just too easy and all that stuff. But if you're going to redo it, and really make it your own.
Deconstruct it.
Yeah, exactly. And really make it your own, why not? Somebody did a review of one of the shows and mentioned that, to them, it still keeps the same vibe, the same atmosphere, and the same kind of feeling all in all. But it's a completely different thing. And I thought that was great,
Would you consider, if you got good news about maybe a potential sixth album, that's fantastic. Have you considered any more covers? The Behemoth one.
Yeah, why not, right? We'll break one down. That would be a lot of fun, actually. Thanks for the idea. We had in the past, in the early days, we had done, we did Moon Age Daydream by Bowie. We made it heavier and we made it more FTB. We also did Three Imaginary Boys by The Cure. But, we were starting out, and when you start getting people yelling for your covers instead of your own songs, it's like, go fuck yourself. It's time to throw that out. We're not doing it. But, there were things in the past. We'd also done a heavier version of The Chauffeur by Duran Duran, which I think has a lot of great atmosphere for a song. We'd even consider Don't Fear the Reaper. A few of us are really big Blue Oyster Cult fans.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Love Blue Oyster Cult. But we'll only do it if we can make it our own and do it justice. If it's going to be like a half-ass version, I've heard too many half-ass versions of Don't Fear the Reaper that just, to me, don't really bring it there.
Sure.
I don't expect to do it, turn a Dylan tune into a Hendrix tune, but you know what I mean. It's got to be real. It's got to have a real impact.
So obviously, covers aside, your own music now. What themes do you have? Themes running through your albums? Anything you like to cover, or is it just generalized stuff at the time that you're feeling, or is there a general theme running through Frank the Baptist music?
I'll be honest with you. I'm not really trying for anything, and I hadn't been from the beginning, except for the fact that we just didn't want to do the typical indie rock thing. I always made it a point not to specifically hide any of our influences. Like if something sounds a little too, obviously I'm not going to allow somebody to do slap bass on one of our songs. And, we also don't want like a thrash metal, vibe on it either. But overall, the guys that we bring in wouldn't be doing that anyway. So no, I guess a lot of people still catch the influences of maybe some of the darker aspect of our music, like maybe something that rings true with maybe like goth or doom or death rock. But the fact is I just write tunes and melodies I want to hear. And luckily, the guys that I work with, they put their own spin on it, whether it be the melodies they bring into it as well. that I love, and I just consider myself lucky. And to be honest with you, I don't set out to do anything. So if the people say, I'll say to somebody, what about this album, blah, 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 and they'll say it's dark. I'm like, really? I was like, to me, that's like the happiest shit I've ever written. But it's not for me to decide. It's the audience always finishes your art. You know what I'm saying? So there's really nothing that I specifically try to put in any of it. It's basically just what comes out.
Yeah, sure. One of my favorite tracks of yours is Silver is a Color, right? Love that track. And I love it when I get to speak to people about the track. So my insight of a track is that one. Can you tell me more about that track? Because it's my favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember it like it was yesterday. I remember I was driving down a road in New Jersey right next to the Matitaconk River. And what it is there are some trees lining this river. And I'm riding late at night. Nobody else is on there. And I'm going, obviously, way too fast as usual. I was a maniac as a kid, or when I was younger, when I wrote it. And looking up through the trees, I could see the moon blaring out. It's almost as bright as day. And it was just an amazing sight. And do you know when you get to these points in life, every once in a blue moon, everything stops. And you know it. You're not just racing through. You're not on autopilot. You're not, sleepwalking through the motions. You stop and you realize where you are in life. And it was one of those moments, like everything stopped. And, and that was one of those moments. And so The Moon Has a Face That Keeps Me in My Place just immediately clicked. And the rest of the song just went along with the things that rang true with me philosophically. Whether it be with some of the Eastern philosophy and or pagan, you'll get a lot of those things running through it all together. And to me at the time, that just really encapsulated the moment for me. And so now when I think about that, even on stage sometimes I get lost in it. And I'll remember that moment.
I'm so glad you played that in Tallinn, because I was like, yes, when that came, I was like, yes, so cool. So we're sat in this very cool establishment in Berlin. Thanks for bringing me here. Very cool. I'm drinking a nice Kronbacher. You're on some kind of like energy drink called Club Mate, which I've never heard of, but it looks really cool. You don't drink anymore. Tell me about that journey for you, because obviously you used to a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was, like I mentioned earlier, I was just a world-class alkie for a long, long, long time. To the point where I remember a couple of months after I quit, I was on tour with my pal Lucas Lanthier, who was in a band called Cinema Strange and Deadfly Ensemble. He and I had a project called the Dirty Weather Project, where we would do semi-theatrical show with acoustic guitars and stuff like that as well. And I remember going into, I think it was either Estonia or Poland, one of the guys. I mean, everywhere I went, when we went in to play a festival, they would hand me a bottle of vodka or whiskey or whatever, just for myself. And I told them, I think it was in Estonia, I said, no, I quit. He's like, yeah, right. And they would give me a bottle, and I was like, no, for real, I quit. He's like, what do you mean you quit? That's like part of your act, or that's half your act. And I'm like, oh, great, that's nice. I painted myself into that corner. The fact is that I needed to quit a lot longer before that. It was ruining creativity. Sometimes alcohol can be a shortcut to passion or creativity in certain circumstances, but a lot of times over a period of time of drinking around the clock every day, that can dull things, deaden things. You ruin yourself mentally. You cut certain things off. Your connection to certain things. And you could be a happy drunk for, the first month of drinking every day around the clock. Then all of a sudden, things start to creep in. There's a lot of delusion, perceived slights, arguments happen with everybody, including guys in the band, loved ones. It was no good for anybody around me, and it was affecting my performance. It's something I love more than anything. In this world, I love music. I love to play it, and that was faltering. I was not. My performance was going to shit. I didn't care. It was just like, wow, we're getting drunk, and And the thing is, you're fucking with the audience then too. Some of them love to see it because they're right where you are, on the same path. But most of them, it's like, they paid to come and see you, or they traveled a long way to see you. They deserve a decent show. They deserve your best, And so, I realized that if I'm gonna live, then I've got to quit doing that. And if I want to keep performing, I've got to quit doing that.
So this wasn't a case of having a couple of beers at night. This is like you were waking up drinking, or was that your thing?
Yeah. I was. They call it here repair and beer. So the repair beer, but it wasn't.
Call it hair of the dog.
Yeah, the hair of the dog that bit you. But it wasn't that. I didn't stop there. And it was becoming far more mental torment than it was physical. Although the physical was getting bad too. And so after a long time. It screwed me up pretty badly, and it was, I've got a doctor telling me on my way to getting gout. I've got, and like I said, it was just screwing things up around, I didn't feel good about how I was affecting people around me. It was destroying me. It was too much torment for me mentally, and it was fucking with my favorite thing in the world, which was making and performing music. And so I was like, you know what? And not only that, but when you're in a cycle like that, you attract people. That the pattern attracts other people in that pattern, and everybody else who's circling the bowl starts to swarm around you, and you're bringing the wrong element into your life and stuff like that. And I had to take a step back and look at what was going on. I was like, this is not. It's fun to read Bukowski. But to live that lifestyle is a bitch. It's not easy.
How long ago was this when you quit as such?
I quit about 7 years ago. In July, it'll be 7 years. And so and to be honest with you, I don't miss it.
Yeah.
I really don't.
The sleep's good.
What's that?
The sleep's really good. I do 2 months a year. I do it to repair my liver. I'm not a big drinker, a few beers at night. But when I have that month off from drinking, I sleep like a baby, man.
Oh yeah.
It's the new drug.
I'm telling you, it really did. I mean, I within a few weeks, I don't know how I did it. I did it cold turkey. I tried to, I went to some meetings with some friends, but it really wasn't for me. And now I went up getting further into Buddhism and stuff like that, which I won't bore people with. But everything got so much better. And, people feel like they're supposed to say that. And then other people will be like, shit, his music is going to suck now. He's sober. Well, honestly, some people like what I came up with more after that. And the fact is I tell people, shit got weirder, actually. And actually got more interesting and weirder after I quit all that. And I still make bad decisions. So, I still have some great stories to tell. I was. I'd have to say that it's been good. Seven years, and I don't miss it. And I'm still having a blast, man.
Awesome. And talking about having a blast, there's other elements to you as well. You've got Telegram Frank, which is your solo project, right? Which should we say? Is that what it is? Would you say?
I guess we could call it solo, but I mean it's not much different than Frank the Baptist. I just don't have a full band behind me, and it's not distorted. It's me playing acoustic guitar, but truth be told, I'm not the best guitar player, and that's why in Frank the Baptist I don't play and sing anymore. I have another guitarist because they can do it better than I can when I'm trying to sing, and it allows me to do the singing much better. But with the Telegram Frank, it's kind of similar, similar influences on the songwriting. It's still, you're going to hear everything from, classic feel to sea shanties to Irish folk, mix it all together with, Rat Pack type stuff as well. And, maybe a little gypsy something here and there. And, you're going to get that feel, the same kind of feel you would if I was singing for Frank the Baptist, but you get to hear it a lot better. And I'll tell some stories or make some rhymes in between the songs, and sometimes within the songs. And I try to make it kind of like a traveling medicine show. And the funny thing is I've actually gotten some fans that are more into Telegram Frank now than even Frank the Baptist, which is really nice to hear. Some folks, fans of Frank the Baptist, will say, all right, well, look, if you're singing, it's Frank. So regardless of what you're doing, it's always going to sound like Frank. And to be honest with you, there's an album or two albums that I should have put out a long time ago and should have promoted Telegram Frank a lot more, because I do travel with that and I would like to do a lot more with it too. I just need to get on with it. It just seems like every time I'm about to step it up with that, something happens with Frank the Baptist, and I've got to pick it up a notch or two and really get on it. So hopefully we'll be seeing a lot more of that and new recording videos, a lot more stuff with Telegram Frank. And I also like to bring other musicians in to play with me with Telegram Frank as I get on stage too, because it's a lot of fun, these shows. You get a lot of people involved, and there's a steampunk bar up the street that I often put on shows at because they've got a stage, and a lot of local Berliners come out for the shows, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
And what's this about you? Did I see it or did I imagine it? Are you a tattoo artist as well? Have you done it? Is that something from the SD era or what?
No, it's not bullshit. A while back, I started to learn tattooing. My ex-girlfriend, who still does my tattoos now, I was starting to learn. She was helping me a little bit. And I have a bunch of my own work on my legs. I have machines and everything. It's just that what had happened was when I was in the height of, really circling the bowl with all the alcoholism, I had a bunch of neighbors. We would get all kinds of shit-faced drunk, and we would break out the machines and tattoo each other. Oh, yeah, it was a blast. So, yeah, if you can imagine, and some of these guys were on all kinds of things as well, and it was just mayhem. And so what it was sometimes my tattooing would come out very good. Better than I would expect. Sometimes it came out complete shit, and I was churning up people's skin. And I didn't feel good about that. And so I didn't want to keep tattooing unless I could get an apprenticeship. So somebody was there to tell me why it was going wrong when I was doing something wrong. And I was just never able to find an apprenticeship because there are so many tattoo artists in Berlin, everybody's competition. If somebody brings you in, you're going to be competition for them somewhere down the line. And the fun thing was that when I was back visiting my parents back in Florida, in Fort Myers, there's a place called Howell Tattoo. The owner is a guy named Andy Howell. He's got a death metal band called Burned at the Stake. After one of their, I was hanging out with Andy and I think the bass player and the drummer. And the drummer was new and he wanted a Burned at the Stake tattoo. And so Andy did the outline, and I was telling Andy for a long time that I was learning. He's like, all right, Frank, let's see what you got. So I was like, oh shit, I'm up. Yeah. So he gave me the machine. I gloved up, and then started doing in the shading and basically the shading and the black work, and it was a blast. It helped that he had a really good machine, and I was like, fuck, I forgot how much fun it is. Yeah. And I considered going back to it, but I would have to put a ton of work into it to get good enough to do anybody. You've got to weigh that out amongst my millions of other shiny things that distract me here and there. Whether it's something that I should put that much time into,
Now, obviously, I think you've got this tattoo on your arm, the octopus. Is it the octopus? What's the octopus significant to the band?
Oh, like it's funny. The logo that we use, it's a drawing that I had done a long time ago. And besides liking octopus or octopi, I put Ganesha symbols on it, and renamed it the Ganeshapus. So it's an octopus mixed with Ganesh. I'm a fan of a lot of Eastern philosophy, Hinduism, Buddhism especially. I've even got a huge Ganesh running down the side of my ribs. It did have a symbolism that worked well within the band, but I also have a personal connection with octopi, and I had an encounter in San Diego that was pretty amazing. On the coast in like a cave, which used to be an old speakeasy cave from back in the Prohibition days. But that's another story. It just fits so well with what Frank the Baptist is. As far as philosophy and the way we work as a whole, as a unit, that it just made sense. And, I'm sure there are plenty of stories I could tell that could illustrate why it's a good symbol that represents the band. And everybody loved it once we started using it. And so it's just now on the T-shirts, on the buttons, on some of our stuff online as well. Cool. And I think the original drawing, I may have used another person's drawing as a basis. For whoever they are, thank you very much. We're not just making money off of that, so But anyway, the Ganeshapus has been a symbol for a while.
Awesome. Now, you've been in the music industry for many years now. How have you seen it evolve in the last? How many years you've been in? 30 years? How long have you been in the industry for? Would you say 30 years? 35 years?
Longer than that. I started playing out in like the early 90s.
Okay, so how have you seen it evolve, especially doing music in two continents, which is like not just for touring but for lifestyle as well? What differences have you seen evolve over the last 30, 40 years?
Oh, sweet Shiva. Yeah, it's well, there used to be, back in the day, hey, you kids, get off my lawn, things were quite a bit easier. There was a lot more of a format as to the way the industry worked and what you needed. Even in the late 90s and early 2000s, I was doing graphic design for a small indie label called Cargo Records in San Diego. It was even changing then so rapidly, the music industry, because of the way things were going with everything online and downloads and all that stuff, that it was just so fluid that you couldn't tell what you were supposed to do, and it only got harder and more difficult and more difficult. Back in the day, I think it was a little easier for bands to do it and make money with publishing and all that kind of stuff. Now it's very difficult. And we had even in the early days, we were even getting advances and money from our label to do recordings. Now it's kind of unheard of unless you're above a certain level. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're Rihanna or something like that, it's difficult. I think, now you don't even need to be a musician. Like I've seen online, you can get like these chord packs to where you can put together anything you can hear on your computer, make a whole song, make some kind of a video with attractive people in it, and go viral. It's kind of, if you're stuck in the old ways, it's very difficult. And I'm not even so stuck in the old ways, and I really can't stand social media. You have to do it. I'm horrible with it. Like, I just don't post enough. I don't care. I'm not one of these people who is so into self-promotion that I love to be posting shit about myself all the time. That makes it difficult. You have to be one of these people who is a ham and wants to be on constantly. And the fact is that now, unlike way back when, there are probably millions of good bands, hundreds of thousands of great bands. How the fuck do you stand out and get ahead of all of it? You know what I'm saying? And really make yourself known. Especially if you absolutely love what you're doing and not just into self-promotion. That's why you really do have to love what you're doing. And I often say that, like, well, look, we're not making $1 million, so we better love what we're doing. Yeah. And you saw the live show, you can tell we love what we're doing. Yeah. We absolutely love it.
Absolutely. Now, with all that thing we're talking about, new bands and new artists, is there any new music you're checking out recently? Do you listen to new music, or any of the old favourites bringing new albums out that you've enjoyed?
God, I honestly don't. New bands, I can't even think of it right now. I've been listening to going back to a lot of older stuff, and there are good new bands. Hell, there's even good new, pop every once in a while. I don't know if it's pop, I'm kind of out of it, but I mean, like, something, I could hear something and it might be a little more electronic, but has a good melody, like vocal melody, and would be surprising as fuck to any of our fans. But honestly, anything that comes my way that's got a good melody, got good atmosphere, I don't care what style of music it is. I just love music. Sure. I don't care if it's country. I don't care if it's electronic. Granted, obviously, I love the guitar stuff. That's my thing. It could be doom. I love a lot of doom. There's a band out of Virginia, I think, called Windhand, with a female singer, heavy as all get out. I love that stuff. It's got a Sabbath flavor to it. But I mean, honestly, could be an LP song. You know what I'm saying? I mean, she's got melodies out the ass, timbre, everything. I love her vocals. Yeah, I love her. So I'm not embarrassed to say that it could be Lana Del Rey. It could be anybody. Yeah. I don't care. I mean, I have a soft spot for. Actually, I wouldn't even say soft spot. I've got an affinity for female vocalists. Love them. But like I said, any kind of music, I don't care. If it's got a good melody, if it hooks me, it hooks me. I'll listen to it 20 times in a row. I'm one of those people.
I could hear a Frank the Baptist track with some female vocals on it as well.
Yeah, I am absolutely. I would love to do that. I had actually wanted to do a cover of a Concrete Blonde song, like The Darkening of the Light, which would have been great for that as well. And I think I'd spoken to a friend of mine about it at one point, but it just never came to fruition.
Random questions, Frank. What do you think is something that everyone should try at least once?
Oh, no. Oh, man. Holy crap. So my mind goes directly to the gutter.
Most people's do, man.
Yeah, no. Yeah, don't come to Berlin and ask that. No. All joking aside, this is going to sound boring as fuck, but meditating. Yeah. I would say meditating. I would say picking up a guitar. I am not a disciplined. I do not have enough discipline. If I can write a song, anybody can write a song. So if you at least once in your life, try writing a song, try writing poetry. I was a weird kid in high school. Not everybody knew about it when I wasn't going to shows and acting the part. I was writing poetry. I would say read poetry, write a song. At least once in your life, do that.
Amazing advice. So if you could find and it's funny because we're off record, we were talking about conspiracy theories and all these different things, but what's the truth to one question you wish you could find out about? Just one question.
Maybe it would be the German relatives thing. Other than that, the big questions, I don't want to know. I don't want to know, and I think it's better not to. I think if you signed on completely for life and you want to take that ride, you have to experience everything it has to offer, and you can't if you know the answers.
Very good advice again. Okay, this is an interesting one, and you're very broad, so if you could steal credit for one famous thing, whether it's a film, a book, an album, what would it be? Steal credit for it, to own it. Just say you did that.
Oh, that's a really good question, and I wish. I would have had an answer, because there were times where I was like, Shit, that sounds like something I would do. I wish I had done that, and I can't think about it now. You know what, though? I'm going to think about that. Yeah, and the neurons are going to be racing around in my brain, and I'm going to stand up at a dinner function somewhere 10 years from now, and I'm going to shout it out. And when it comes to me, I'm going to be calling you, man.
Yeah, that's right. Make sure. Now, the last thing. Well, two things. First off, we discussed again earlier about the famous Trump thing happening in November this year. In a nutshell, what's your opinion? What's going to happen in the States politically?
I'm trying to be optimistic. I am a dreamer by nature, and I try to reserve a bit of naivety in myself. And though I don't think that the left, the area where I lean in the most, I don't think that there's enough solidarity there as much as there are in Trump's camp. I think it's really easy to string along people who buy into that and are in of that camp. I think that it's going to be difficult to beat him, but I think he's starting to lose his hold on people, and I think his hold, that he's held out of fear, I think that's starting to weaken, and I'm trying to keep positive about it. And I'm really hoping that he finally gets dumped, because the fact is that if he gets on board, he really is trying to turn it into a tyranny. He's trying for an authoritarian, and the fact is he's not even an intelligent authoritarian. At least you could look at some of the authoritarian regimes in the world, and they might have a leader that's a little bit more on the intelligent side, and so they really are villains. When you've got a comic book villain, who's really special needs. I don't know how else to say it. It really is an embarrassment. I'm part embarrassed, part afraid. But such is life. Yeah. Such is life.
Fair enough. Finally, what's next for Frank the Baptist and you personally? What's next? So obviously the 6th album is going to be due in the next how long? What's the expectation there?
Well, truth be told, this album's been kind of a shapeshifter, because we had tried different. We tried to rework the songs, something we haven't done. We tried to rework them in different ways to see if maybe we could shed a different light on them, and to, rather than how I normally would work them and record them. Sometimes it's worked to good effect, and sometimes not. I think we may need to go back in and record a bunch of the tracks. We may need to do crowdfunding. We'll see. But there's songs that I really like, and they'll have, you're going to get some flavor from like the early albums, and you're going to have some from the later ones. But nonetheless, like I was mentioning before, fans are going to say this is Frank. It's not going to be. It's not like AC/DC to where we do the same album every time, but it's also not. Oh shit! It's not the band anymore. You're going to know it, and you're going to get some. There's a whole lot of love and energy in it, and you're going to get. It's going to be nourishing. You'll know it.
Nice. Frank the Baptist. Well, Frank Vollmann from Frank the Baptist. Thanks so much for joining me, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, man, it was great. It was good to talk to you, and great to meet you, and I'm glad.